right, guys, I'm doing a little experiment here. I am testing out different lines on a really light jig. So some of you guys that throw a hair jig, sometimes you have a hard time getting the distance, and a lot of it has to do with your tackle, your rod and your reel. But believe it or not, a lot of it comes down to the line size that you're throwing. So I have two St. Croix rods here, and I have a Fenwick over there. But the two St. Croix rods are both 7-foot medium light fast action. So they're medium light power, which is what you want, okay, for a small hair jig, and a fast tip. Now these St. Croix rods, these medium light St. Croix rods, spinning rods, they're really tippy, okay, but they're great for drop shot and for hair jig. So what I have here is this one here is a 15-pound braid to 8-pound fluoro, okay? So the main line is 15-pound braid, and I have 20 foot of 8-pound fluoro. And this jig is a marabou jig in a size 3/32 jig, okay? So let's see what kind of distances we get. Now, before I get started here, one thing I do want to mention is that this is a 7-foot rod. You'll certainly get better distances using 7.5 to 8-foot rod. I'm only 5'7", 5'8", so some guys that are taller have longer arms, longer rods. You're going to get more distance, but this is an apples to apples comparison because the other rod that I have there is also a 7-foot medium light fast tip Legend Elite rod. Same Shimano Stella, but it's got spooled up different line. Okay, so we're going to see the differences. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is get my jig wet. Even when you're on the boat, you know, you want to make sure that you dip your jig so it's wet, okay? Otherwise, it's really not going to go very far. All right, I got those two cones out there. One is at 70 feet, and the one behind is at 80 feet. All right, let's see what kind of distance we get. This will probably go about 60 feet, I would imagine. And the other thing I want to mention is when you do cast your line, you don't want to have a short amount of line out. So this lead from the rod tip here, that's only about a foot, maybe 15 inches. Okay, you don't want to have that. You want to have about 30 inches of line out like this. All right, you get better distances doing that. That was actually more like 3 feet. So I got a line here on the cement I'm marking, and let's see what kind of distance we get. Again, 7-foot medium light fast tip Legend Elite with a Shimano Stella, high gear with 15-pound braid to 8-pound fluoro. That is not very far at all. That's maybe 60 feet. That was only 56 feet, believe it or not. Do one more. I'm not trying to horse it either. Just casting it enough power like I would normally. Okay. Yeah, it's about the same distance. We'll mark that one more time just to make sure, and then we'll try the other one. 56 feet. That's not very far. All right. All right, guys. All right, what I have here is the same rod, Legend Elite 7-foot medium light fast tip. All right, so medium light power, again, fast tip. Okay, Shimano Stella in a high gear, so everything's the same except for the spool. This I got a spool of 8-pound braid, 6-pound fluoro. Again, about 20 feet of fluoro. Okay. So I went from 15-pound braid down to 8-pound braid, which is the lowest you want to go. And then on the fluoro, I went down to a 6-pound. Now I probably could have gotten away with 8-pound. 6-pound is probably the lowest you want to go. I wouldn't suggest going any lower. And if you're fishing with the 8-pound braid and 6-pound fluoro, you definitely want to be fishing in open water. You don't want to be fishing on the bottom. These hair jigs are usually fish, you know, above the bottom. So you don't want to be fishing this where you're going to get in trouble with rocks and stumps and things like that. All right. So let's see what kind of distance we get with this. Again, it's the same rod, same reel, just a different line. Again, I got about 30 inches of line out. Let's see what we can get. See if I can get at least past that first cone. Oh yeah, that looks like, what did I say that was? That first cone was 60 feet and the second cone was 70. Let's tell you what, we're gonna mark that off. I think it was 70 and 80. We're gonna mark that. I think that first cone was 70 feet. So we're gonna go ahead and mark that off and see what we got. That first cone was 70 feet and it went past that. So that's 73 feet. So that means I went from 56 to 73. That's quite a big improvement. So we're gonna try that again and see if we can't get a little bit further than 73 feet. The wind caught that one, but that one's about 74 feet, 75 feet. So we're getting close to that 80-foot marker. So my mistake, that was more like 71, 72 feet. And what happened was, and each one of your casts is going to be different. Sometimes you have the perfect cast, you know, where you really bomb it and you're proud of it. And sometimes you don't. So that one caught the wind a little bit and went a little bit higher. Again, I'm not trying to horse it. I just want to see what kind of distances you get. Like that first one. Again, that's right at 70 feet. Okay, that one was right at 70 feet. So I went from 56 feet to 70. It's pretty good, okay? So you're gonna get more distance with lighter line because of the drag, okay? It has a little bit to do with the weight that you're throwing, but mostly the drag as you're throwing it, the drag against the resistance against the air. So I went from 56 to 70. I have one more test I'm going to show you, and I know it's going to happen because I already tested it. This is a St. Croix Legend Elite high-end rod, $650 to $700 rod. Shimano Stella, $900 reel, okay? Not cheap by any means, okay? But that's what I just like. I love the Stellas, okay? And you guys know I'm a big St. Croix fan. I love the Legend Elites. If this was maybe 7.5, closer to 8 foot, and maybe if I was taller, I am sure I can get closer to 80 feet. You know, I could probably get to that 80 foot and beyond. So I'm going to show you one more thing, and that is I have a Fenwick rod. It's a Fenwick Elite, but it's the same action and power. It's 7 foot, medium light, fast tip, but it's not a St. Croix. It's a Fenwick Elite, middle of the road, like $300 rod, and it's a different reel too. So stay tuned for that. All right, guys, last test. This is a Fenwick Elite in a 7 foot, medium light, fast tip. Very similar to the St. Croix rod. They're both 7 foot, both medium light, both fast tip. Difference is this tip is a little stiffer. For whatever reason, St. Croix's medium light tips are real tippy. They're real soft. And I suspect I'm going to get better distance out of this one. The reel is a Shimano Vanford, middle of the road, $300 reel, nothing special. Nothing like that $600 or that $900 Shimano Stella. This Fenwick rod, this Elite series, is a middle of the road, $300 rod. Nothing like the St. Croix rods that are $650, $700. All right. Same 3/32 Marabou hair jig. Again, this is the 8-pound braid, Suffix braid, to 6-pound fluoro, similar to the St. Croix that I was getting 70 feet. So let's see what we can get as far as distance on this one. Got my jig wet. And it's cast one. All right, that's well past. Yeah, that's well past the 80. Let's go ahead and mark that and see what we got. Bear with me, guys. "80 feet. That's pretty good. That's real good. Cheaper rod, cheaper reel, same jig. But I'm getting 80 feet. 10 feet further than the St. Croix. Do a couple more, see if we can't get past that 80-foot mark. Okay? Wow. That one was 85 to 86 feet easily. I mean, that is significant improvement. Anyways, guys, you get the point. Getting a much better casting distance on this cheaper rod, but the line makes a big difference. So I hope you guys get something out of it. Thanks.